God's not going to flip it around and give you all the provision first. With no vision, you will squander it, you will waste it, you'll be reckless with it. He gives the vision, then the provision. And the third obstacle to the vision, that is your present self. We typically are our own biggest hindrances. And I'm not singling anyone out. That slaps me in the face too. But this also it's all about humanity. It's a humanity issue. The devil was easy to defeat for Paul. He said it was his flesh that he had to subdue daily. It was his own self, his own flesh, his own carnal desires that he had to daily wrestle to subdue. Jesus, get this, Jesus prayed the longest to overcome the devil, but he prayed the hardest to overcome his own self. Let me explain that. Think about it. Jesus fasted and prayed for 40 days in the wilderness to overcome Satan and the temptation that he was about to bring. But just before going to the cross, Jesus anguished in prayer as he prayed until his sweat became as drops of blood. And he's in the Garden of Gethsemane and he's praying, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me." In other words, God, I really don't want to do what you've asked me to do. God, if there's any other way. And yet he does pray, "Yet not as I will, but as you will." We typically see ourselves in your present flawed state. By faith, I challenge you to begin to envision yourself as someone better than you are right now. You see, in the Bible, when God releases vision, he releases it to a person. But by the time that they arrive to where they're going, they're somebody else. And what I mean is the word comes to Abram, the vision comes to Abram, but it's manifested in Abraham. The vision came to Sarai, but the fruition of it came to Sarah. The word comes to Jacob, but it's revealed in Israel. God talks to a man named Saul, but then when it's fulfilled, he is the Apostle Paul. You are not always going to be your present self. God, when he gives the vision, and when you will surrender, when you'll submit, when you'll dare to believe and go after it, he takes it and he works inside of us. He develops us. He changes us. That we're not any longer just the person, that flawed person that we once were, but he is working in us to change us to that person that he can truly use, that he can trust, that he can bless, and he will fulfill it. Life lesson 6. God sees and knows the version of yourself that through him you will become. He already sees the Abraham, the Sarah, the Israel, the Paul. He already sees that within you. The thing that I want to tell you today regarding having faith or vision is this. Take a look right now from where you are. Take a look at things from where you are. The Lord spoke to Abram in Genesis 13. He said to him, look as far as you can see in every direction, north and south, east and west. I'm giving all this land as far as you can see to you and your descendants as a permanent possession. And I will give you so many descendants that, like the dust of the earth, they cannot be counted. Go and walk through the land in every direction, for I am giving it to you. What I want to say to you is don't focus on where you are, but begin to look to where you're going. Don't focus on the mountain. When God has a promised land on the other side. Don't focus on your obstacles that are right here before you when God has destiny ahead of you. When God has blessing and favor ahead of you. Praise team, why don't you come and get ready? Don't focus on where you are in your present situation or your present resources or your present self. Because all those things are changing. In verse 17, the Lord was saying to Abram, the land is yours. Just pick a direction because it's yours. Wouldn't you like to be in that place in God where no matter which way you went, it would be right? He said, look, go, wander, walk the land. It doesn't matter. You can go north, south, east, west. You can go any direction, and I'm going to give it to you. It'll be yours. Every part that you see, that's what I'm going to give you. What would have happened if Abram would have just sat down and said, oh, you know what, I'm pretty comfortable right here. I'm content right here, Lord. It's got a nice view. Got a couple shade trees. Got a nice little lake. Life lesson 7. If you stay in your present state, all you're going to get is what you currently see. You got to get up and you got to start walking. You have to start walking out the vision that God has shown you. And as you walk, you will see more. As you walk to the north and to the south and to the east and to the west, you will continue to see many things. God will continue to reveal many things. God will continue to bless you with many things. God said, Abram, it's all yours, but you need to go walk it. Go claim it. Go stake it out by faith because it's yours. Somebody today, you need to stop focusing on the mountain, focusing on the obstacles, and you need to start walking. You got to get moving to that promised land. Have vision for the blessing. Have vision for the gifting. Have vision for your future, and put some legs to it and start walking. If you see yourself as always under or beneath or not good enough, then that's where you'll stay and you'll live there. And the devil is very content for you just to stay right where you are. But if you will dare to begin to see, envision it through faith, and when that faith completely aligns with God's word, his will, you will see things blossom in a way you've never dreamed of. We know God's able to do all things. The problem is too many people, we limit God. We limit his work in our life because of our own self. Maybe comfortability, maybe because we bought into the negative lies. And so we limit what God can do in our life, because he won't force it on you. You know, mean, depressed, grouchy, irritable people usually have a vision of a future that's far worse than what it is today. And if that's what you focus on, that can be your reality. Hebrews 11, and it tells us, verse 1 and 2, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. And through their faith, the people in days of old earned a good reputation. And I love Hebrews 11. We call it the Hall of Fame of Faith. In verses 8 through 10, it talks about Abraham. And it was by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would give him as an inheritance. And he went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith, for he was like a foreigner living in tents. And so did Isaac and Jacob, who had inherited the same promise. Verse 10, Abraham was confidently looking forward to a city with eternal foundations, a city designed and built by God. Why don't you stand with me? Let me ask the prayer team to come join me, please. I hope somebody today will determine for themselves in their own heart, their own life, that I'm not going to keep seeing myself as I always have. That I'm not going to keep looking at myself through that same filter. that I'm going to see myself in a brighter day. That Jesus said that I'll be the head and not the tail, and that I'll have faith for a vision. I have faith for the vision that God has already begun giving. I have faith that that will come to pass. So I'm going to get my eyes fixed on not the problem and not my circumstance, but fixed on the author and finisher of my faith. I'm going to fix my eyes. I'm going to envision the promise. I'm going to envision what he has said my future is. I have the faith that that will come to pass.